Jiri na na ye na jiri na re re na na ra na na ji ye ra na re de re na re ti ta na na re na na re je re na 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 je ra na 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 re na da na re na ri ta na da na ri de na da na ni ra ta ta dhang ye ni ra ta ta dhang ye ni ra ta ta dhang Brikvanandana Papakandana Koti Ravi Samana Koti Ravi Samana Abhushana Chamake Jari ki sari सोहे तन में जरी की सारी सोहे तन में चोली अंग सोहे तंग नीरखत ढंग जरी की सारी सोहे तन में चोली अंग सोतंग नीरखत ढंग तेरी नीरखत ढंग ढंग देनी रखत ढंग निरतत ढंग निरतत ढंग निरतत ढंग हे निरखत ढंग अभय पवन तन मन मंद सुगंध शीतल बंसी बट तट जमुना राधे राधे गोपी उमंग ये निरखत ढंग राधे गोपी उमंग राधे गोपी उमंग हे नीरखत ढंग नीरखत ढंग नीरखत ढंग मनमोहन श्याम रसिया मनमोहन श्याम रसिया मनमोहन श्याम रसिया मन मोहन श्याम रसिया मन मोहन 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 श्याम रसिया मन मोहन श्याम रसिया नीको लागे बलि जाऊं छवि देख तिहारी मन मोहन श्याम रसिया नीको लागे बलि जाऊं छवि देख तिहारी मन मोहन श्याम रसिया बांसुरी सुनत सब सखिया बांसुरी सुनत सब सखिया प्रेम गीत सबके मन भाए ऐसो नटवर गिरिधर मोरे मन बसिया मन मोहन श्याम रसिया मन मोहन श्याम मन मोहन श्याम मन मोहन मन मोहन मन मोहन श्याम रसिया सा सनि द पदनि सनि नि द प म प द म ग म प द नि सनि द प म नि द प म ग म प द म ग रि स स म ग म प द म प द नि स स रि नि 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 स द द द नि प द म प द नि स नि द प म ग म नि द नि प द म प द नि स म ग रि स नि द प स नि द प म ग म प द नि प्रो Sege vade varura Santana Gopala Krishnam Upasmaye Santana Gopala Krishnam Upasmaye Santana Gopala Krishnam Upasmage Santana Gopala Krishnam Modi jaise velera Modi jaise velera Idukada Modi jaise velera Idukada Modi jaise velera Modi jaise velera Modi jaise velera Ne paadi sarasa maadi na to muddadi nanu Modi jaise velera Idukada Modi jaise velera Vayyari matalato sayyataladuchumu Vayyari matalato sayyataladuchumu Viyarana priyaya ninne pilachite Modi jaise velera Idukada Modi jaise velera Janaro 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 Mohamu Sagimpagalene Janaro Mohamu Sagimpagalene Janaro Janaroi mogamu sagimpagalene Janaroi mogamu sagimpagalene Manini ni jalamela Marubari korvalene Sarasangi samike marulu చేసేవు సరసాంగి సమీకేమో మరులు చేసేవు పరవశము దయచేసి పరవశము దయచేసి పోయిరమ్ము మోదుగమ్మా పరవశము దయచేసి పోయిరమ్ము మోదుగమ్మా జనరోయి మోగము సగింపగలేనే సగింపగలేనే సగింపగలేనే. The Raga Kamaj and the Carnatic Raga Kamas. Kamaj is the thought, is a superset. Nama Mela Karta Mari in Hindustani music. Kamaj is the thought which is very similar to our Harikamboji Mela. But from that thought is born a raga. Raga has a particular swarupa. It is not just a krama sampurna outline aroha avaroha. So the Kamaj thought is different from the Kamaj raga. Okay. Our Kamas is also classified under Harikamboji Mela. The beauty of Kamaj and the adaptation of it into Carnatic is very interesting, because on one hand you have a very pure Kamas, like you heard, if you had noticed, in the Chittaswaram that I sang and in the Modi Jese Velera that I sang, there is no Kakali Nishada. It purely belongs, it is a Upanga Raga. It belongs only to the scale of Harikamboji. In the Kriti Santana Gopala Krishnam, we find there is a hint of a Kakali Nishada. Okay, so when we speak about a raga being adapted from the Hindustani tradition to the Carnatic tradition, one of the main factors is the dealing with the Anyaswara. Adodu proportion, adi endha mari or moorchanaila and the Anyaswara include panni varudhu. How prominent is the Anyaswara? Whether it exists as an independent entity or it is included within. For example, when I sing Janaro, the Nishada is very blatant, correct? It's not hiding anywhere. Whereas when I sing Santana Gopala Krishnam Upasmahe Sada, there the Nishada happens only as a ஒரு ஜண்ட ஸ்வரத்தில் அந்த நிஷாதம் பேசுறது. Throughout the Kriti, Dikshitar is a traditionalist. Though an innovator, he has a lot of respect for the tradition from which he hails, which is Venkatamakhi's lineage. So the adherence to grammar at that time is very high in him. Even though he has, I can sense that he feels that he wants to break free, but then he chooses to abide by the theories and the aesthetics of Venkatamakhi. So he is not as bold to include Anyaswaras and Vivadi, so-called Vivadi Swaras in his adaptations. He likes the feel of the Anyaswara, but he is very cautious. This we observe not only in Kamas, in many ragas we see that approach is different than say Tyagaraja. Tyagaraja is very bold. He's not afraid of the so-called Vivadi theory of that time. He throws it to the winds. He doesn't care about Vivaditvam. In fact, he revels in the idea of two notes of the same value. That is, two values of the same note. Idhila rendu nishadam. I'm going to assume that all of you know a lot. So I'm not going to explain basics. Okay? Anyaswarana terima. Anyaswarana theriyum. Bhashangana terima. Upangana theriyum. Ellarkume and the terminology theriyum. The idea, so this Kamaj that I sang, in of course the Hindustani tradition, it's a full-blown treatment of both the nishadas. Right? When I sing Mana Mohana Shama Rasiya, Mana Mohana Shama Shama, Anuswarma Verum, Brikava Verum, plain Mana Mohana Shama 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 Rasiya, Mana Mohana Mana Mohana Shama Rasiya. It is the interplay of the two nishadas that is so beautiful. Somehow Carnatic music theory held that these notes are not in consonance with each other. Inodu kaadukku onnume dissonance kekkalenga. Ni sa ni da pa ni ni da pa. But we have to give the benefit of doubt. The tastes, the liking and so-called caveats in music theory have always been changing. Aesthetics have changed. Correct? In my lifetime itself, I have seen aesthetics change so much in terms of what people prefer and what people like very much. So definitely 250 years back, we can never say with any certitude that it was the same. That is a very big mistake that we make as seekers of understanding Carnatic music and classical. We assume that everything was the same. Whereas Carnatic music, even though a very traditional system, is very dynamic. It keeps changing so fast. So to say anything is authentic itself is a stupid thing. You understand? Dikshithar இப்படிதான் பாடியிருக்கார், அப்படிதான் சங்கீத சம்பிரதாய பிரதர்ஷனில் எழுதியிருக்கு. That speaks of kind of a fanaticism which is not very healthy. Correct? So I dispense with the word authentic at all or original when we speak about Carnatic music, because it is constantly changing. It has always changed. So we embrace the change. So in the nishadattode ரொம்ப கன்சர்வேட்டிவா நம்ம கமாஸ் பாடனம்னா, we will sing it without the Kakali Nishada as a pure subset of Hari Kamboji. But what will make it Kamaj is the adoption of the phrases of the murchanas of the original Kamaj. So you can still sing and make it seem like a raga, Kamaj, even if you don't use the Kakali Nishada. Right? Da ni sa ni da pa pa ma pa da ga ma. The nyasam on madhyama. Right? Sa ni da pa. The Gamakas, Anuswaras. Gama pa da ni da ni pa da ga ma. Samagama nidapa. அப்படிதான் ஆரோகணம் அவரோகவே அப்படிதான் சொல்லி கொடுப்பா. Sama, though Dikshithar doesn't, for Dikshithar it is not Samagama, it is Sagama. Sagama padani sa sanidapa magarisa. Adan avroda definition. He doesn't have the Samagama nidanipa prayoga. But the Kamaj that we know very well, Samagama nidapa danisa sanidapa Sanidapa Mapadagama. In the Kamaj vandatnaladan maybe Hari Kamboji lost its charm. Hari Kamboji kaanama poiduthu. Though Tyagaraja has composed, there are Annamacharya Kritis which many people have said to in Hari Kamboji. But when is the last time you heard Hari Kamboji in a concert? Show of hands. Very rare. And that is because of the grandeur of the compositions, not because of the raga. ஒரு எந்துக்கு நிர்தய பாடுறது அவ்வளவு அழகா இருக்கு, அதனால தான். அல்லடா ராகத்துக்கு ஒரு ஸ்வரூபம் கொடுக்கறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். ஹரி காம்போஜி. In fact, TRS, the great TR Subramaniam said, this Hari Kamboji you cannot sing, it's a scale, he used to say. ராக ஸ்வரூபம் அதில் வரது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். ஸோ நான் அவர் கூட ஆர்கியூ பண்ணியிருக்கேன். எப்படி சார் நமக்கு கிருத்திலேருந்து நம்மளுக்கு அதுக்கு we can proceed to the lakshya of the raga, எப்படி அதோட ஸ்வரூபம் எப்படின்னு. But he said then you will only sing the phrases of that kriti. அதுக்கு மேலே அவருக்கு அதில் அழகு தெரியலை, ஸ்வரூபம் தெரியலை. He is entitled to his view. So the adaptation of Kamaj into Carnatic as Kamaj poses many options in terms of the values that you assign to the two nishadas. That is the operative principle. Conservative பாடினமா ரொம்ப தாராளமா ரெண்டு நிஷாதத்தை யூஸ் பண்ணி பாடலாமா. Both of them are, according to me, very beautiful. But here the kamasness of the raga is more with respect to the phrases. Gamani da da pa. So if you take the Uttaranga Pradhana, Santana Gopala Krishnam, Nari Mani ni kai nadira jara cho rama. So sa ni da pa ma ga ma ni da ni va da ni sa. So that seems to define the raga, the murchana of the raga. Sa ma ga ma ni da ni va da ni sa ni da va ma pa da pa ma ga ri sa 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 ni da ni sa ma ga ma ni da ni va da ni sa. This is Kamaj even without the Kakali Nishada. So in Carnatic, many of us think that Carnatic is more rigid. How many of you, there's general myth that Carnatic music is more rigid. But I think post 20th century, Carnatic is very open and allows for a lot of ways in which to interpret it. So Kamaj is one such example. Nariya Periya Nishadam which padnalum tale adum correcta padina. Periya Nishadam, Kakli Nishadam illama padinalum Kamasa padna, people will rasichify. So the adaptation of many such ragas, especially in the 20th century, has seen a lot of liberal acceptance. That is why in the last 50 years, the influx of beautiful North Indian Hindustani melodies has been welcomed so readily. That is a fact. இப்போ Annamacharya Kritis, Purandradasa Kirtana, எல்லாமே you see being set to a lot of North Indian ragas. So there is an inherent charm in it. Later on we'll do questions. When I look at Lalgudi Jayaraman Sar's Tillanas, 95% of them are in ragas which are from the north. Whether it be Rageshri or Mand or Pahadi or Revati or Madhuvanti, Desh, Sindhu Bhairavi, ellame. So he was a very shrewd man. Very, very shrewd. He could sense a new kind of beauty that people are responding to. அவர் தேவகாந்தாரியில் சங்கராபரணத்தில் ரீதிகோள் எல்லாம் போடலை தில்லானா, அவருக்கு தெரியாமல் இல்லை. He was a master of those ragas also. But there is a conscious relating to the tastes of the people. That these North Indian ragas, even if you look at Bhavyami, Gopala Balam or Nanati Bratuku, why do the tune smiths choose these ragas? Because there is something fresh and new about it. Correct? So that's why I am blowing up the theory that we are very conservative. We are not conservative at all. In terms of what we like, so it's a kind of a bipolar situation that we are in. We like to believe that we are very classically rooted, correct? You will find these words, if you look up a review, classicism illan solva. யாருக்குமே தெரியாது அது என்ன அர்த்தம்னு, இந்த ரெவியூவருக்கும் தெரியாது, கரெக்டா? Classical roots. So on one side it is there, and the other side a very open-mindedness which allows for very easy embracing of beautiful things. So these are like the two faces of Carnatic music in the past 100 years that I have observed, practically speaking, correct? பைரவினா பைரவி மாதிரி பாடணும், ஒரு மதுவந்தி பாடுறதுனா அந்த மதுவந்தியோட அந்த எல்லாருமே அந்த அழகு, நார்த் இந்தியன் ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிஷியன்ஸோட அந்த விர்ச்சுவாசிட்டி, அந்த அழகு எல்லாம் கூட இருக்கணும், அப்போ தான் அது ரசிக்க. ஸோ ஈவன் இன் வெரி கன்சர்வேட்டிவ் ஆர்டிஸ்ட் லைக் Alathur brothers, when they were the people who really brought out Sindhu Bhairavi in all its glory. Or Chandrasekharavo, or M.S. Amma, Vishweshwara Darshan. So the Raga really grew and people liked it very much. So these are all the processes of how individual artists have adapted many things from the north. This process is not a new process. Even before the time of Muthuswami Dikshithar and Tyagaraja, there is a very beautiful acceptance of things from the north. Dikshithar was a very big votary of the beauty of the North Indian ragas that he encountered when he was traveling. He was a Parivrajaka. Do you know what a Parivrajaka is? Somebody who travels by foot and bullock cart and other means of transport to all the Tirtha Kshetras all across India. So right from Jalandhar, Amritsar, Kashi, Nashik, Saurashtra, எல்லா இடத்துக்கும் அவர் சுத்திருக்கார் as a Dikshitar, as a saint. That was part of his spiritual process. And because he was such a great musician and a Sanskrit scholar, everywhere he went, he took in the sounds and ragas of that region. And he composed. He felt like composing. But of course, avaroda roots vidala. He was still rooted in the Carnatic music tradition. So his compositions give us a glimpse into how he adapted the melodies that he heard and how he brought it within the firmament of Carnatic music. So ragas like, we will go into deeper into ragas like Yamuna Kalyani or Dujavanti. Now, these are all adaptations at that time. So if you think you are modern, Tyagaraja and Dikshitar were 100 times modern. No, we have to accept that fact. The way Tyagaraja Poondu Valyadified with Vivad ragas is so earth-shattering, amazing. So that's the kind of a double face that we have to deal with. A very conservative base and rootedness in the Carnatic theory. At the same time, an open mind to accept and engage with beautiful melodies from everywhere. Tyagaraja's that open-mindedness is very, very evident with his Notuswaras, where when he heard the melodies of the British, bands, military bands, he liked them. It didn't matter to him that he was such a great Carnatic musician. It was very beautiful and he decided to compose in them also. Like I said, I consider this the temptation, the Anyaswara, as the joy of an Anyaswara or the seeking of an Anyaswara like a forbidden fruit. Forbidden fruit na nama theory la adukku romba value kudukarla, edam kudukarla, correct? But then adoda alagu deny panna mudiyala yaarale, correct? So ஒரு விலஹரியில் ஒரு கைசிக்கு நிஷாதம் பாடுறதோ, ரைட், ஒரு ஆனந்த பைரவியில் ஒரு சுத்த தெய்வத்தமோ அந்தரகாந்தாரமோ, are you able to relate to what I am saying? So the joy, the thrill of an Anyaswara, அதுக்கு வேண்டி நிறைய பாட முடியாது, அந்த ஒரு அளவு like the ஒரு ஃபேஸில் ஒரு மச்சம் தான் இருக்கலாம், 10 மச்சம் இருந்தால் பின்ன அது சோபிக்காது. ஸோ அந்த ப்ரொபோர்ஷன் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். ஐ வில் கிவ் சச் வெரி பேனல் சிமிலிஸ். ஓகே, இட் ஹெல்ப்ஸ் மீ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் இட் பெட்டர். ஸோ அந்த அந்நியஸ்வராவோட ஒரு புல், ஒரு அட்ராக்ஷன், வெதர் இட் பீன் ஜெயஜெயவந்தியோட 2 காந்தாரா ஆர் பிஹாகடாவோட 2 நிஷாதா, கரெக்ட், so many ragas, or Hamir Kalyaniயில் இருக்கிற 2 மத்தியமா, ஒரு லலித்தில் இருக்கிற 2 மத்தியமா. So I will, since I mentioned about Lalit, the Raga Lalita is also an adaptation of the Lalit of North. But because of the very blatant use of both the madhyamas, somewhere Tyagaraja Dikshidhar felt that this is not to be done. Right? So கொஞ்சம் லலித் பாடுறேன். So நம்ம லலித், you know, சரி கமதனி சனிதா மகாரி சா. Lalit has both the madhyamas in a very beautiful way. Da-da-na, ri jina dari ri na जोगिया मेरे घर आया, जोगिया मेरे घर आया, घर घर अलका जगाया, जोगी या मेरे घर आया. सानिदा निदा मादा रे गा मादा मा नि मादा मा मा गा मा 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 गा रे गा मा नि 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 दा मादा नि नि दा मादा मा मा गा रे गा रे सा धने रे गा मादा नि रे गा मा गा रे सा नि दा नि दा मादा दा मा मा गा रे सा धने रे गा मादा नि रे गा मा गा रे सा नि दा नि रे दा नि दा सा नि दा मादा नि मा नि दा मादा दा मा मा गा रे गा रे सा नि सा. जोगिया मेरे कानन कुंडल गले बीच सेली, कानन कुंडल कुंडल is describing Shiva. कानन कुंडल गले बीच सेली, अंग भभू तारमाया, जोगिया मेरे घर आया. जोगिया मेरे. Many times that ma ma ga is a chromatic trio. Chromatic na பக்கத்தில் இருக்கிற நோட், அது பாடுறது வாசிக்கிறது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம். One of my pet theories is why Vivadi ragas were ஒதுக்கி வச்சிfied is because they were difficult. அட்டெம்ப்ட் பண்ணிருப்பார், அது வந்திருக்காது. சானி தா மா தா மா மா க ரே கா கா ரே சானி சா எல்லாமே. இப்போ ஒரு சந்திரஜோதி பாடனம்னாலோ ஒரு ரசிகப்பிரியா பாடனம்னாலோ you need to work harder. And people have showed us the way. Artists like G. N. Balasubramaniam, S. Kalyan Raman, Voleti, Sheshagopalan sir, TRS, எல்லாருமே they have showed us the way. And hence maybe before that people felt that this was better left alone. Why deal with something which is difficult? சௌக்கியமாகவே பாடிட்டு இருக்கலாம். சௌக்கியம், இதுக்கு சௌக்கியம் குறைச்சல் ஒன்றும் இல்லை. இதுவும் சௌக்கியமாக தான் இருக்குது. ஆனால் there could be the reason why people avoid certain things is because it is difficult, correct? So, அப்போ தீக்ஷிதர், because I want you to imagine 250 years back, where he would have encountered this raga. Sanida mada mada mama maga mada ma dani ri gari sa ni ni dani na mada mama gari ni 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 da mada mari ga ma marisa. The beauty of Lalit is that it doesn't prescribe where Pratimadhyama, where Shuddha Madhyama. I can sing Rega Madanisa as just a Varjya of Puridanashri. Rega Madanisa Rinida Magari. Adum Padla. It's not compulsory that it has to come Rinida Magari. Varam avashyame illa. So and the Murchana eppadi move aardo, it is up to the individual. So it is that uncertainty which probably threw off Muthuswami Dikshidhar. Because Carnatic music, unless you prescribe Aroha Avroha, seems very cloudy and hazy. So he decided to do away. This is my own imagination. In fact, I have sometimes sung Hiranmayim with the tinge of that, just for fun. With full respect, I'm not betraying anybody's compositional integrity or anything like that. Hiranmayim Lakshmim Sada Bhajami Hina Manava Sray. அழகா இருக்கு. தீக்ஷிதர் கேட்டா நினைச்சுப்பார், இதுதான் எனக்கு பண்ண வேண்டியிருந்தது, பட் டியூ டு சர்க்கம்ஸ்டன்சஸ். Because this is why it is named Lalita. And Lalit is a very old raga. There are Drupad compositions in Lalit. I'm talking about Tansen's time, 500-600 years back. There are Drupad comp. So the adaptation here is to simplify it. You just do away with the Pratimadhyama. Correct? But you keep the phrase structure as Lalit. Hiranmayim Lakshmim Sada Bhajami Hina. And the Dhama or magic, which is there in both the Pratimadhyama Lalit as well as in our Carnatic Lalita. You know? Hiranmayim Lakshmim Sada Bhajami Hina. ஒரு காலவே ரெண்டு தடவை அந்த தாமா இனன்சியேட் பண்றார் பல்லவியிலே. So he is taking the phrase structure of the raga which he liked so much, but he is doing away with the problem swara, so-called problem swara. So that is also one method of adaptation, right? Then Nanubrova Lalita Shama Shastri composes. You know, the three of them have composed in 28 ragas, common 28 ragas. Yeah. So so it is very clear that they were in some way the ecosystem, even though they lived in that around the same region, but they were aware of what each one, even though there is a slight time difference between the three of them, they were definitely aware of what the other great Mahan is composing, how their imagination of the raga is. That's why Ketripar Shama Shastri comes a little later. So Dikshidharoda இந்த பாட்டு கேட்டு, ஆஹா ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கேன், எனக்கும் ஒன்று லலிதா மேல அனுப்ரோ லலிதா நானும் கம்போஸ் பண்ணலாமே அவர் கம்போஸ் பண்றார். It's a very beautiful synergy that happens. So here the forbidden fruit is really, he doesn't succumb to the temptation of the forbidden fruit, Dikshidhar. Correcta? ஆமா. அந்த எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சீஸ், பீஸா மேலே ஒரு எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சீஸ் போடுறதுக்கு ஒரு டெம்டேஷன் இருக்கும் இல்லையா? இந்தியாவில் பீஸா ஆர்டர் பண்ணால் சீஸே இருக்கிறது இல்லை. ஸோ அந்த எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சீஸோட டெம்டேஷன் ஹீஸ் அவாய்டிங். Correct. Yeah. And he wants to preserve the tradition of Venkatamaki. So he stays very clear, very truthful to it. But then in some places, he is not able to resist it. If we take up a raga like Dvijavanti or Dujavanti or Jujavanti. Jujavanti is mentioned in a Prabandha earlier. And this is mentioned in the SSP. But there again, the core of Jai Jayavanti is what? Is the interplay between the two Gandharas. Right? In Hindustani too, the handling of the Sadharana Gandhara, the lower Gandhara, is very sensitive and its measure is very less. It's like salt in a dish. It has to be very sensitive. So, I'll sing a little bit of Hindustani Jai Jayavanti. I'm going to make this interactive today, okay? So I'm going to ask, I see a lot of young, brilliant musicians here. So let me see who wants to volunteer to sing some Jai Jayavanti with me. Anybody? Someone will come. அதனால தான் நான் கொஞ்சம் லோவா ஸ்ருதி வச்சுட்டு இருக்கேன். அதனால தான் கொஞ்சம் பாடுறது கஷ்டப்படுறேன். I have kept it at B. Yeah. Sing. Ana. Ana. So there, what she sang was with the Gamaka of Carnatic. Pa, ri, ri, ri. SSP la அவர் சொல்றார். அந்த ரிஷபம் வந்து சஹானா மாதிரி வரணும்னு. ரி 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 கா ம ப ம கா கா ரி ரி. அப்போ அது நேச்சுரலாவே நமக்கு அப்படி வரும். வேற ஹிந்துஸ்தானில் அப்படி இல்லை. So to co-opt this new raga, he takes the help of Sahana. He says that idhila vandu SSP la as a footnote he says that Kedara Gaula, Yadukal Kamboji and Sahana are the three ragas which help adapt this raga into Carnatic. See, when you want to introduce something new to a system, it will work very well if you take the help of things already established there. See, you take the help of Sahana, you take the help of... So, Pari, Pari. Instead of that, if I do Pari, if I do that, there is more acceptance. Because it's familiar territory. Ketaveruk, oho, idu nama sangidam dhan oru idea kadaikum. They will feel reassured. You understand? Like again, I will go back to food. Like if you have, paneer butter masala pizza. So pizza will get more acceptance if there is some paneer on top. Because it's kind of home territory. Huh? Localization, yeah, exactly. Illam plain notes. Even that birga is not there. The moment you do, that is a Carnatic aesthetic. So the meend, which is the most powerful Gamaka in Hindustani. Jirina so Pamagari. That mean is very identifying of the North Indian Hindustani sound. Jera the constant, very smooth traversing through the octave. Sani pa da pa ga ma ri ga ri sa ri da ri ga ma da pa ri ri. So the traversing like that. Let's try that. Ri da ni ga sa ri ga da ni pa ri ri ga ma pa da ga pa ma ga ma pa ma ga ri sa ni sa ri ga ri sa ni sa. So the Jayajavanti has also two nishadas. So Dikshita decided, this is all my imagination, rendu ga vechindi kashtapadano, ipo rendu neeyem vechindi kashtapadanama. So he avoided the Kakali nishada. So our Dujavanti doesn't have the Periya nishada. Correct? But he keeps that Panchama Rishabha connection, which is very identifying of Dujavanti. You know? Da Niri Pari. These two Murchanas are very important for our Dujavanti also. Yeah? Correct? He mate, but he mate jada chanda. Mic which go? She sa jata jut. She sa jata jut ganga. The slowness of that ga to be gang gang anga pamamagari gaza and the ga avladha varum ganga ganga Biraje Bira Aje He mate He mate Jad Chanda
Jada Chanda
Kanana Kundala Kanana Kundala Gale Vihalamala Gale Vihalamala Gale Vihalamala. Again Shiva description that Gale Vihalamala
Gale
Vihalamala. So even in the Hindustani Jayajavanti, this phrase, even if it doesn't have the Sadharana Gandhara, you will recognize it as Jai Jayavanti. Ni sari sani da pagari. And the Gaturi travel in நமக்கு தெரிஞ்சிடும் இது வந்து Jai Jayavanti. You don't need the Anyaswara. That's what I am trying to say. So many times when we adopt the lakshya of the raga, even though we may not adopt the lakshana. Lakshana na grammar. So Hindustani grammar illaiki and the feel மாத்திரம் நம்ம எடுத்துக்கிறோம். Okay. Dikshidhar எப்படி பண்றாரு இத? Dikshidhar like he makes the use of Yadukala Kambodhi in a very big way. The version that I know of both Chetasri and Akhilandeswari uses the Yadukala Kambodhi a lot. And Sahana. Cheta Sri Bala Krishnam Bhajare Che Ri Ga Ma Pa Ma. The full Sahana oda feel வந்துருது. And அந்த காந்தாரம் வந்து அவ்வளோ நுணுக்கமா இருக்கும். பால கிருஷ்ணம் கமகரி பட் மரி மரி மகாரி ரொம்ப சின்ன வேல்யூ தான் இருக்கும் அந்த சின்ன காந்தாரத்துக்கு. இந்த அனுபல்லவி இட் இஸ் ஃபுல்லி எதுக்குள்ள காம்போது நவ துளசி வனமாலம் நாரதாதி முனிஜாலம் சரிமா பதப காரி ஃபுல்லி எதுக்குள்ள காம்போது நவ துளசி வனமாலம் நாரதாதி முனிஜாலம் குவலயாதி பரிபாலம். அங்கதான் அந்த பரி. I told you about the very discerning unique phrase of Jai Jayavanti. Pari kuvalayadi paripalam guru guhanuta gopalam. The Magasa is fully Yadukala Kamboja. So how within the he takes the help of Sahana and Yadukala Kambodhi in a big way to establish and to make it familiar, like I was சொல்ற மாதிரி localize a new raga. Okay, so that is also one strategy. You can see this in ragas like Yamuna Kalyani. You can see this in the adaptation of many Hindustani ragas into Carnatic. That is to take the help of Kalyani ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருக்கு already. If you take a raga like Saranga, Saranga is an adaptation of Shuddha Saranga. Sarang is a family of ragas in Hindustani, right? Madmat Sarang, God Sarang, Shuddha Sarang, Brindavani Sarang. Even Brindavana Saranga is an adaptation. We'll also come to that. How Dikshidhar is torn between wanting to use both the nishadas but not doing so. We'll come to that. And the adaptation eppadi paakalam. And we'll also see how Tyagaraja he cares two hoots about whether 2 nishadas or 5 nishadas. He will use both of them very, very comfortably. No guilt, no nothing. So what was I saying about? So if you take a raga like Saranga, the adaptation is a little bit shrewd. You want to separate the two madhyamas, right? So you do that by using a Vakra Prayoga. So how is Shuddha Saranga in Hindustani? Now even Shuddha Saranga has been adapted into Carnatic. But Saranga itself is an adaptation of Shuddha Saranga. Jere na 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 re da ra na na जाओ जी जाओ शाम चलिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम चलिया मोरे मन की न जान ऐसो मोरे Rangaraliya jao ji jao sham. Right? This is Shuddha Sarang. Parangla. Jao ji jao sham.
Jao ji jao sham.
Chaliya.
Chaliya.
More man ki.
More man ki.
Na jaane.
न जाने
कैसो मोरे
कैसो मोरे
रंगारालिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम रंगारालिया
रंगालिया
मावानी सा मामारी री सदानी रंगारालिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम
रंगालिया जाओ जी जाओ
शाम चलिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम
चलिया जाओ जी
चलिया जाओ जी जाओ शाम. So the marima, ange there is a vakra, right? That is mama, it will come. But many times marima, and the rendu madhyamathai separate பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு ரிஷபம் வரும். நம்மளோடத்துல சாரங்கா எப்படி வருது? தீக்ஷிதர் again, Dikshidhar and Tyagaraja are the first people who have used this raga. Marigama. So in the Marigama, one interfering note pora to separate the Vivaditvam, you use two notes so that the two are separated and the Vivaditvam will not be felt. What is Vivaditvam? When two dissonant notes occur at the same time or one after the other. Because there is what is called persistence of hearing. The dissonance theory has to do with persistence of hearing, where after you have heard a note also, it lingers in your brain, in your mind. So the next note when you hear it, it should not be affected. So adinala rendu note naduvula vandha adu andha madhyamam vandha adoda effect poirukum. Mariga marisa, right? And the second strategy, two strategies, is that you make it very Kalyani dominated. Right? So, where Shuddha Sarang is pa ni sa ni pa, with Saranga pa da ni sa ni da pa, that is fully Kalyani. So, Uttarangatla full Kalyani da. Right? Varada rajam upasmahe vanajasanadi pujitam. Full Kalyani da. In fact, if you look at some books, Sari Gama Padani sa Ada Aroha. Chelver Sapa Ma Padani sa apdi cholra. But sir, Sapa Ma Padani sa is actually derived from kritis like Arunachalanatham, where you find that Sapa Ma, that prayoga is very aprakrita tejo mayalingam. So, Viprotama Visheshantarangam. So, Sapamapa Prayoga is actually a learning of the raga from the Kriti. I always say we learn the ragas from the Kriti. So, even Aroha Avroha is learned from the Kriti many times. So, adinala jelpo in the theory books la edirukkiradhu is waste. Because thappa irukum. Adukkum and the Kritikkum sambandham irukadu. Right? So, Sapamapa. So, when you teach Aroha like that, it makes more sense to the student, because the student is not going to encounter Sari Gama Pada Nisa so often. Vanajasanadi Risapa Mapadapa Adda Murchana. So many times the adaptation and to make the Uttaranga very strong Kalyani. Right? So whether it be in a Tyagaraja Kriti or in a Nivada Negana or in Arunachalanatham, you find that this Pamariga Marisa, that is a dominant phrase. In fact, in the phrase Padinale unakku ellarkum theriyum. This is Saranga. Da Pamariga Mari. Da ni sa da Pama. Of course, the Dirgham and Arutam on Dhaivata is also a lakshana of the raga. Da ni sa da Pamariga Mari. That is because in the Rishabhatla and the emphasis Vartanala, Daivatla emphasis Vartanala, it kind of mirrors. Right? Pamara Pamariga Marisa. Adana statement of Saranga. ஸோ அந்த உத்தராங்கத்தில் அதுக்கு ஒரு ரிப்ளை மாதிரி தனி சரி தா பாமா தனி சரி தா பாமா நீ தா பாமா சனி தா பாமா நீ தா பாமா நீ தா பாமா தா பாமா ரீ தா பாமா ரீ கமா ரீ சா. ஸோ அந்த தைவதத்துலேயும் ரிஷபத்துலேயும் அந்த எம்ஃபசிஸுக்கு அந்த 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 மூர்ச்சனை வருது. சதா பாமா ரீ கமா ரீ. But Sani Da Pama is also there. That is also quite prevalent in all the kritis. Even in a raga like Yamuna Kalyani, Yamuna Kalyani nariya history irukku. The raga is called Yamuna actually. In the SSP, among Kalyani's subsets Janyas, Yamuna Kalyani is not figuring. Because it is existing as a separate raga by itself. Sarigapada da Aroha, according to SSP of Yamuna Kalyani. Yamuna Kalyani is also a very big area for study as to how 250 years back it was being sung and how we are singing it today. Today, like I said, we have become very free with the aesthetics of Hindustani music. So when I sing a Krishnani Begane or Tunga Tira Virajam, there is the aesthetics of the Yaman Kalyan of the north is very, very full, and it is embraced and accepted such, right? Yaman actually SSP la and the notes la vandu Iman and Kalyan odu combination than Yamuna Kalyani ne notes la irukku. But in the Aroha Avroha it is not mentioned. It is mentioned as Yamuna. Kalyani Vartiye illa adla. Again there Dikshitar is slightly cautious about approaching the lower Madhyama. Right? He brings out the character of that lower Madhyama by the use of Gamakas. The Kampita Gamaka is a mainstay of Carnatic music. So angeme அவர் அந்த மத்தியமத்து சரணத்தில் மாத்திரம் ஒரு இடத்துல என்னோட பாடத்தில் ஒரே இடத்துல தான் அந்த சின்ன மத்தியமம் பிளேனாக வரும். We don't know how they exactly sang it. We know it only through the versions that we have learnt it. Correct? So we cannot say with any certainty that this is how the treatment of the Shuddha Madhyama was by Dikshitar. Right? Jambupati Terima. Jambupati Terima. And I will also say this. Many of these versions that we have learnt are coming from a source in the 20th century. They are not coming from the original source. Nanum idu rendu version la kathunde. One is from Vishwa sir, the other is from Shri D.K. Jayaraman's recording. I think the D.K.J. recording became the iconic standard. Am I correct? Because notation apart paadna appadi illa. Let me be very honest. SSP oda notation prakaram adu appadi illa. And it's okay, because the written tradition and the oral tradition are going to be at great variance. They are never going to match. So to make a drama about saying that I am singing like authentic Dikshitar looking at the notations is a very stupid idea. Because the notations are very insufficient and inadequate to capture the glory of the Gamakas. ஒரு 8 சிம்பலை வச்சுட்டு இப்படி தான் பாடணும்னா and because I have done research on notation, western notation, shape notation, colored notation, we realize how inadequate it is to capture the details in the music. It can only be a guide in terms of the Gamakas. Because our Gamaka tradition is so rich, cannot be penned down. Fortunately, we have recordings, so we are able to assimilate it from great masters, the way they sang it. வேர்ட்ஸ்லையா? இல்லை, அப்போ வந்து இட் இஸ் அ தெரியல, ஐ எம் நாட் a language expert, but அப்போ is a water also. ஐயோ, இது ரொம்ப டேஞ்சரஸ் ஏரியா. சம்ஸ்கிருதமாக தமிழா அங்கெல்லாம் போகவே மாட்டேன். It could be correct. Like I said, I am not an expert on that at all. But Appu Lingam சொல்லுவா for the water, Appu Lingam சொல்லுவா. பாடுங்க ஜம்பூபதி. பரவாயில்ல, டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் ஆலியே பாடலாம். நீ பாடு.
ஜம்பூபதி பாஹி நிஜ அனந்த அம்ருத போதம் தேஹி ஜம்பூபதி.
So what this version does, it renders the Gandhara, Devata and Rishabha as what is generally referred to as Shuddha Swaras, no Gamakas. And that gives it a different feel from the Kalyani. So Pallavila and the indication, Shuddha Madhyamathoda indication illa, except Gamari. Adu Swaram Jonathan theriyum, adu Gamari nu. Ada Gari Ga adane. But when you do a plain note, Jambupate, and the Gaba plain apadicha, adukapram varagari, that will be interpreted as the small ma. So the interpretation of a Gamaka and of Shuddha Swara in contrast only makes sense. Do you get what I am saying? Ipo Jam pade Jambupate. If I did it like a standard Kalyani, then the value of the Shuddha Madhyama as Anya Swara will be lost. You are this is just my sharing of some idea. That on the plain note oda contrast la da and chinna madhyamam anga namalukku kekkuradhu. Because if you do Gandharathukku, if you do the Kampita, then the magic of that Ri Magamari, that will get lost. Whereas in Kalyani also we do that. Don't we do that? But that will be Yamuna Kalyani. So the assimilation has to do with also what is happening around the phrase, not just that phrase. Okay. இது வந்து ஹரிதாசுலு வெடலு முச்சட்ட. ஸோ அங்கே வந்து ரொம்ப பிளேன் அப்பாகா மதி ரொம்ப பிளேனாக அந்த சுத்த மத்தியமம் இஸ் இனான்சியேட்டட், அட்லீஸ்ட் இன் த வே தட் ஐ ஹவ் ஹர்ட் இட் பீங் சங். Even though it's a very hrisva enunciation, it is there. Of course, இப்போ வந்து the full blown Yamuna Kalyani is generally being sung in today's times in the Madhyama Shruti. Whereas very clearly for Dikshidhar it was a very important raga by itself and not just something to be sung in Madhyama Shruti as a light composition. But the assimilation has come to such an extent that today it's one of the most relished raga, Yamuna Kalyani, right? Thanks also in a great deal to M.S. Amma's Bhavayami Gopala Balam, because it established this kind of melodic entity in the minds of millions. My guru, T. Vishwanathan sir, used to sing this Krishnani Begane Baro like nobody's business. Romba alaga paadvar. So konja and his way of dealing with Yamuna Kalyani, which is in the process of the assimilation. Correct? So today Yamuna Kalyani, you will think of it as a Carnatic Raga. Begane, begane. So the first phrase is Gamagari. Begane, begane baro. So here the Anyaswara seems like Pratimadhyama seems like the Anyaswara. Begane baro. Begane baro, begane, begane baro, begane, begane, begane baro. Begane baro. So first explanation all Varjya, Panchamame irukadu. Madanida, manida, madamaga, magari. Adhikapram when the Panchama comes, you are seeing the Kalyan in it. Begane baro. Begane baro. Krishnani. Krishnani, Krishnani, begane baro, Krishnani, begane baro, Krishnani, begane baro, begane baro, Krishnani, begane baro, Krishna, Krishna, Krishnani. இப்படி கொஞ்சம் அந்த தொகையரா பாடின அப்புறம் தான் அவர் பாட்டு எடுப்பார். Because the play of the two madhyamas, you are having the total freedom to do that. 250 years back, that freedom was probably not there, because there was the idea of Vivaditvam was still a valid concept. Today, among both musicians and listeners, like I said, it has been dispensed away. It has been done away with. It was valid at that time. It was valid at that time for also. It was not valid for Tyagaraja, like I keep saying again. It was valid for Muthuswami Dikshitar. Yaman Kalyani is the same thing. That is Kalyan. See, Kalyan is the parent raga. Iman is the Persian influence of. We don't know exactly. That's what the books say. So, Jamuna kinare mero gaon, Jamuna kinare mero gaon, Savare ai jayo, Savare ai jayo, Jamuna kinare mero gaon, Savare ai jayo, Savare ai jayo, Savare, Savare ai jayo, Savare ai jayo, Savare ai jayo. So on the light-heartedness of that Nire Gama Gari, Maba Maba Gama Gari, Pamada Mapa Riga Gama Gari, Nida Nida Mada Maba Gama Gari, Madani de Gama Gamaga Rigani Sanida, Nire Gama Nida Nida Mada Gama Gari, Savare Ai Jayo Savare. So the raga itself is sung with a light-hearted voicing and aesthetic. There is a lot of history of. I was doing some research on the history of Kalyan, and it is fascinating. The material out there is very, very interesting. So I will encourage. We don't have time to go into all those theories. Kalyan eppadi vandadu, adile iman eppadi vandadu, appuram adukku different times la eppadi ella vyakyayanam pannirukka the granthakaras, you know. Eppadi adu Yamuna maarithu, the politics of it becoming Yaman, from Kalyan to Yaman. That's also politics, you know. So then again, like I said, then we come back to what today we consider as belonging to the Kalyan family, which is Hamir Kalyani, what is called actually Kedar. We don't know how Kedar got named Hamir Kalyani. There is a raga called Hamir that also uses both the Madhyamas. But the Hamir Kalyani that we sing today is closer to Kedar and not Hamir. Okay? Huh? In our Hamir Kalyani, yeah. Sari Paga Marisa, that is Kamod. Sandere He Mora Angana Sandere, that is Kamod. It's a rare raga, it's not a very common raga. Tilakamod is very different. Tilakamod, Sapa Mari Ri Nizare Mapani Sapa Damari. People get confused between Desh and Tilakamod. The naming of ragas in the north is absolutely it doesn't follow any rhyme or reason. You know, why Tilak, why Kamod? There is a raga called Gorak Kalyan. There is Kalyan Pakataliye varle and the raga. Nida Mari Ni Sari Majani Sari Nida Mari Mari Nida Nisa. Unga Kalyani illenga. But it's called Gorak Kalyan. So there are such things. Huh? Yeah, Manj Kamaj has a logic. Manj Kamaj is a Kamaj which also gives out shades of Yamuna Kalyani. Yeah, it's a recent creation, variation of. Because in the north, because of the gharanas being geographically spread, each gharana had its own take and interpretation and opinion of any raga. And they came up with their new ragas also, which were not there. So as a result, there's a lot of confusion. Anyway, we'll not get into that. What were we playing? Whatever. Hamir Kalyani. So I'll sing Kedar and we'll see how that is the closest, how the adaptation would have happened from Kedar, but it got wrongly named as Hamir. Hamir is like this. Tera anare ni sada pa pa ga ma da da ni sa da pa da pa ga ma da. That pa ga ma da, that is the operative murchana. Whereas Kedar, it's same notes. Pa da pa ma ri ga ma ri. Apdi po. Right? That is what our Hamir Kalyani is, right? When we take Venkata Chailavi Hara Nive Gati Brova Radha Sri Venkata சைலபி. ஸோ கேதாரில் வந்து அந்த ரெண்டு மத்தியமம் ரொம்ப பியூட்டிஃபுல்லாக இட் வில் பி ரிவீல்டு இன் அ வெரி பிளேட்டன்ட் வே. வெராஸ் நம்மளோடத்துல நம்ம அமீர் கல்யாணி பகா மகா again the intervening note of the Gandhara mantapa mulanu mantapa, that will not be heard much, though my Guru Vishwasar will sing that mantapa mulanu, but Brindama will not sing that. Brindama will sing mantapa pamadavagama. So that is also a strategy. You don't want two madhyamas to come one after the other because of so-called vivaditvam. So you again use anuswara of that Gandhara. Pagamaga pamani pa pamadavagama magabarisa samagapa. Even while going up, samagapa samagapa dani sadava. Whereas in Hindustani Kedar it is very Kanhare Nandanandana Paramani Ranjana He Dukhavanja Na Kanhare Nandanandana Paramani Ranjana He Dukhavanja Kanhare Kanthabai. Pardon. Kanthabai. Krishna's description. Kanthabai motiyan ki mala.
Kanthabai
motiyan ki mala. Paharata mudita. Paharata mudita bhai brijabala. Bhai brijabala he nandana he nandanandana kanare. So in the play of அப்படி அப்படி சுருட்டி சுருட்டி போயிட்டு இருக்கும். Kanhare Saniri Danida Mavada Digama Saririza Magama Marisa Sanida Nida Mavarisa Nida Mada Saniriza Another thing which I found very fascinating, it is this virtuosity, that is the way of singing very random, very difficult phrases. That is the reason, one of the main reasons why these have endeared to people. A Kalyan Raman, a Tanjavures Kalyan Raman sir, இந்த ராகம் எல்லாம் அப்படி ரொம்ப வர்ச்சுவாசிக்கா பாடுவார், பிரமிக்க வைப்பார். That is why it resonates. The acceptance, virtuosity sometimes does not recognize style also. Any virtuosity, any musical style, a good music rasika will be drawn to it. whether it's opera, whether it be Japanese music, or whether it be Carnatic or Hindustani, because it is essentially so beautiful. Difficult also. The sadhana is evident to the listener. Or Bade Ghulam Ali Khano Salamat Nazakat Ketalo, even if you are not familiar with the raga, you can disagree with me if you, but I don't think it is. It will immediately draw you, captivate you, because the difficulty in it. So the virtuosity, because these ragas in Carnatic have not had a very set pattern, so there is more freedom and hence more scope for virtuosity. You know, when I see that the main agents of the adapters, we have to give credit to them. Somebody like Voleti Venkateshwarulu, Balamurli Krishna, S. Kalyan Raman, GNB sir, இவெல்லாம் அந்த அளவுக்கு அது இதை அவ்வளோ வைட்டல், அவ்வளோ வர்ச்சுவாசிக் ஆக்கினா. ஒரு சங்கதி போடுவார் கல்யாணராமன் சார், போரும். அது அதோட தியரியோ கிராமரோ ஒன்றும் வேண்டியில்லை. பிகாஸ் இட் வில் பி அவ்வளோ பிரமிக்க வைக்கும். அமீர் கல்யாணி அவள் பாடியிருக்காள, நான் பாடி கேட்டதில்லை. ஐம் ஜஸ்ட் திங்கிங் வெதர் ஐ ஹவ் ஹர்ட் கல்யாண் ராமன் சார் சிங் Hamir Kalyani. I have not heard. பாடிருப்பா. அந்த ஸ்பீட்னால, அந்த டாஸ்லிங்னால, the raga finds a place in your heart. The aesthetics of virtuosity, I call it. That is, lot of people now, I see so many reviewers, again I am very harsh with this, people who write, slow பாடினா aesthetics சொல்றா. Even if the slow is not good. இல்ல இல்ல அப்படியா? ஓ, ஓகே 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 ஓகே, வெரி பியூட்டிஃபுல். ராஜரத்னம் வாசிச்சு கேட்டிருக்கேன் நான், Hamir Kalyani. What I am saying is virtuosity also has its very valid justification for aesthetics. Why singing fast, not aesthetics? You know, there is a notion also which I want to dispel. That is, aesthetics includes singing the very virtuosic things also. Slowa padina da, alti padina da aesthetics. Our music is not confined to that. Our music also has a lot of place for virtuosic aesthetics. You know.
Soul of Carnatic music resides in the Vilamba Kalam. Velikame edu mislead pannitaanga.
Abdiya. At least you agree that it is misleading. இப்போ மிஸ்லீட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கா நிறைய பேர். ஆமாம், ஸ்லோ எப்படி பாடினாலும் அழகாகவும் இருக்காது, அந்த நிதானமும் இருக்காது, ஆனால் ஏஸ்தெட்டிக் சொல்லிட்டு இருப்பா. இப்போ சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கா நிறைய பேர். Yeah. But in Carnatic I find that that notion is not very healthy. Because very clearly so many great artists have shown the way that virtuosity lem or aesthetics irke. Aesthetics, the word itself is not understood by us. Very nammalottla vandu ranjakatvam da. Ours is a matter of delight. What delights you? So speed also delights you, slow also delights you. So give both a fair chance is what I'll say. So in this context, many of these ragas, because they were handled in a very virtuosic way, they found acceptance into Carnatic. For example, Nath Hare Jagannath Hare, Nath Hare Jagannath Hare, Kelati Radha Vasagrihe. Kalyan Ramar said that double speed la add par. Sitati Radha Vasagrihe Nath Hare. அங்கங்க சுருட்டி அந்த 16 அக்ஷரம் அங்கே உட்காரணும். அந்த லாஸ்ட் திருத்தத்தில் அது 20 ஸ்ட்ரெச் பண்ணுவார், 24 ஸ்ட்ரெச் பண்ணுவார். அதே ஸ்பேஸில் மோர் நோட்ஸ் மீன்ஸ் மோர் ஸ்பீட் யூ ஹவ் டு சிங் இட் இன் அண்ட் ஹென்ஸ் மோர் இம்பேக்ட். கரெக்ட். ஜெயவந்தியில் ஓலிட்டி சார் பாடுவார். मैं गुलाम तेरा, तू ही मेरा सच्चा साई, नाम लूं मैं तेरा. फर्स्ट அப்படி பாடுவார். मैं गुलाम तेरा, तू ही मेरा सच्चा साई, नाम लूं मैं तेरा. இந்த சங்கதி பாடுறதுல எவ்ரி டைம் ஐ ஹேவ் டு ப்ரே. சரி பாபா அது வரணுமே. அது 10 வாட்டி பாடினா ஒரு 3 வாட்டி தான் கரெக்டாக வரும். To your satisfaction. These are all inspirations from Bade Gulam and Nazakat Salamatla. Tera Gulam. Even a phrase like Gulam Raga Gamakas அப்படி அந்த டைமிங்கில் போகும். गुलाम तेरा, तू ही मेरा सच्चा साई, नाम लूं मैं तेरा. गुलाम. On a good day I will sing it well. Today இந்த பேசிட்டு பாடுறது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம். So another composition with this Jai Javanti, in something between a see, in these lighter compositions again which are being tuned, they are not Vagyakara kind of entities. This is Kabir. Kabir Nariya Voleti Venkateshwarulu tune pannirkar. So many of his choices have been such ragas because he was deeply impacted by Bade Gulam Ali Khan sahab. I have met Voleti, I have played with him. So எனக்கு ஒரு அளவுக்கு அவரோட aesthetics he has spoken a couple of times with me. So அவளுக்கெல்லாம் Bade Gulam Ali Khan, I don't know if all of you have heard Bade Gulam. Bade Gulam கேட்டப்புறம் வேற ஒரு பாட்டும் கேட்க முடியாது. அப்படி ஒரு he has spoiled us. ஒரு பாட்டும் சோபிக்காது. கரானா விடுங்கோ, அந்த பாட்டியால கரானால் நிறைய மோசமாக பாடுற வேறும் இருக்கா. படே குலாம்னா படே குலாம். அந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு இஃப் தேர் இஸ் ஒருத்தர் சொல்லியிருந்தார், இஃப் யூ வாண்ட் டு லிசன் டு ஹவ் பகவான் வில் சிங், யூ ஹவ் டு லிசன் டு படே குலாம். தட் இஸ் ட்ரூ டு அ கிரேட் எக்ஸ்டென்ட். அந்த அளவுக்கு பெர்ஃபெக்ஷன், அந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு மனோதர்மம். அமேசிங். If ever some of you think that you are singing well, please go home and listen to கச்சேரிக்கு அப்புறம்ல நன்னா நான் கச்சேரி இன்னைக்கு ரொம்ப நன்னா களை கட்டிட்டேன்னு போய் ஒரு 5 minutes கேளுங்க, அந்த ஸ்ருதி அப்படியே இறங்கிடும். So people like Kalyan Raman sir, Voleti, Balamurali Krishna, எல்லாரும் greatly impacted by Bade Gulam Ali Khan. I heard this girl sing. They are all my students, not Saman V, but there are quite a few of my students here. Binda Nadi Kur Kachirila, she sang Nama Japana Kyun Chhod Diya, which is also a tuning of Voleti. Parya, that is Saga Ma Paga Sa. Adu Madhuvantiya Madhukonsa. Madhukons no ragam irukku, which we call Sumane Saranjani. And Madhuvanti also, there are Tilanas, there are lot of Purandaradasa Kritis ella adula amichirukka. Konjam paad. To show you how the virtuosity will capture you, and hence the acceptance will happen of that raga.
नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम
konjam volume kodu.
क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, नाम जपन क्यों छोड़ दिया, सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया,
இதில் நிறைய அவர் வேரியேஷன்ஸ் பண்ணுவார். பியூட்டிஃபுல். நாம பச்சன क्यों छोड़ दिया सत्य बचन क्यों छोड़ दिया नाम बचन क्यों छोड़ दिया. That is on the Manodharmat ki shows away. None of this is planned. Satya bachana क्यों छोड़ दिया नाम बचन को छोड़ दिया. Though because this raga doesn't have, இது actually என்ன ராகமே சொல்ல முடியாது. மதுகோன்சம் இல்லை, மதுவந்தியும் இல்லை, ரெண்டுமே சேர்ந்து வருது. சாகாமா பனி சா அது வருது. சாகாமா பதானி தாபா பனி சதாமா பா பனி சதாமா பா நிறைய யூஸ் பண்றேன். So it's a free form raga, but it is based on Madhukon's aesthetics of Madhukons and काम न छोड़ा क्रोध न छोड़ा काम न छोड़ा क्रोध न छोड़ा
काम न छोड़ा क्रोध न छोड़ा काम न छोड़ा क्रोध न छोड़ा सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया सत्य वचन क्यों छोड़ दिया छोड़ दिया नाम भजन क्यों.
The क्यों न पर सत्य बचन क्यों सत्य बचन क्यों सत्य बचन क्यों क्यों सत्य बचन क्यों छोड़ दिया नाम बचन क्यों मावदा मागसा छोड़ दिया. பாடிண்டே போகலாம் கொஞ்சம் நேரத்துக்கு இந்த மதுகோன்ஸ். பட் what I'm saying is many artists have to be recognized when you talk about adaptation of Hindustani ragas into Carnatic music. It has happened because of their sadhana. உண்மை அறிந்தவர் உன்னை கணிப்பாரோ மாயையே மனத்தின்மை உள்ளாரை நீ செய்வதும் ஒன்றுண்டோ மாயையே. இந்த சுமனேச ரஞ்சனிக்கு one of the earliest. So in the structure of the Carnatic, see இது வந்து ரொம்ப typical Carnatic structure. இது ஹிந்துஸ்தானில் நம்மளுக்கு இல்லை. சக சம சப பனி பச நிசா பானி மா பனி சா நி ப ம க ம பனி ப ம க ச க நி க சா. So it's very familiar territory in terms of the Sahitya structure. So when you adopt a raga like Madhukons, whether you give it a new name, it remains Madhukons. Okay, Sumanesa Ranjani solron tavara, it is sung with the aesthetics of Madhukons. Unmai arindavar unnai kaniparo mayaye, the magic of dhatu. Saga sama sapa Balamurali sir nariya panvar. So in his Mahati and all, in his new ragas Mahati, இந்த மாதிரி நிறைய the dhatus for the magic. மனத்தின்மை உள்ளாரை நீ செய்வதும் ஒன்றுண்டோ மாயையே சாக துணி சமுதிரம் எம்மட்டும் மாயையே நீசித்த தெளிவெனும் தீயின் முன் நிற்பாயோ மாயையே. சனிசா பச மாச கச சனி கசா. ஸோ அந்த வர்ச்சுவாசிட்டினால அந்த ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் மைண்டில் இருக்கிறதுனால இந்த ராகம் நம்மளுக்கு எல்லாம் பிடிச்சி வருது. அதுக்கப்புறம் அடுத்த கட்டத்தில் வேற யாராவது கம்போஸ் பண்ண இந்த ராகத்தில் இட் வில் ஒர்க் பிகாஸ் பீப்புள் ஹவ் ஆல்ரெடி ஃபாலன் இன் லவ் வித் திஸ் ராகா. வர்ணம் இருக்கா? ஓகே இருக்கு. நானும் ஒரு கச்சேரியில் பாடினேன். அந்த பார்த்த சாரத்தின்னு ருக்மிணி ரமணி அம்மாவோட ஒரு காம்போசிஷன் இதில் சுமனேச ரஞ்சனியில். ஸோ இட் பேவ்ஸ் த வே. I will say that I will credit the paving, the acceptance of such ragas into the Carnatic pantheon is because of the sadhana of these great artists. Sindhu Bhairavi is again a wonderful example as to how Alathur brothers and Arikudi Ramanujayangar, Balamurali, all of them have nourished it. Today Sindhu Bhairavi is probably the most liked raga in Carnatic music, whether you like it or no. 90% of kacheris are having Sindhu Bhairavi. Correct? இல்லை நீங்கள் மார்னிங் டு நைட் டெய்லி 6 கச்சேரி கேட்குறல. நீங்கள் கச்சேரி இப்போ இன் டுடேஸ் டைம்ஸ் கேட்குற மாதிரி யாருமே கேட்கல. ஆர்கே சார் இஸ் லிசனிங் டு கான்சர்ட்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் மார்னிங் டு நைட் ஃபார் த ஹோல் 1.5-2 months. அது ஒரு பெரிய சாதனை. So what I am saying is Sindhu Bhairavi has become probably the most important raga. That is because all these great artists have nourished it. You know? So Tillana irukattum, or Manadir Kugandha irukattum, or Vishweshwara Darshana is not in Sindhu Bhairavi originally. It's in a raga called Dhanashri. Okay? Swadhi Tirunal's composition. It became big because of MS, because it was tuned in Sindhu Bhairavi, and that really resonated with people. Hundreds of compositions in Sindhu Bhairavi. So the process of assimilation of raga is also due to the tunesmiths of the 20th century. 20th century is the maximum number of compositions of Purandaradasa, of Annamaya, of Bhadrachala Ramadasa, for which we didn't have the met. Right? And many of the great artists, Jayadeva Ashtapati, Kalyan Raman sir, evlo beautiful compositions he has tuned in. Ashtapatis he has tuned in all these ragas, and hence they become dear to us. Nariya irukidla, let me see, we will wrap up in some time. Even ragas like what we think are traditionally Carnatic ragas, like Begada. How many of you know that Begada is not a Carnatic raga? It's an adaptation of a raga called Bihagada. In fact, in olden times, even my guru used to call it Piyakada, never Begada. Ippotha nama Begada solrom. Originally, Piyakada than solvar அவர். It's coming from Bihagada. So there, the assimilation happens because of certain standard established Gamakas of Carnatic music. Volume konjam naane potu. Dava mari sani dava sasagariga. Ramcharan ba. I wanted to make this interactive. Anyone who wants to come and sing can come. I will teach you Bihagada. So the movement of Bihagada is what actually Begada is. So Begada is a assimilation of the movement of Bihagada and the notes of Bihagada. Like our Begada is also 2 nishadas, correct? 2 nishadamum நம்ம Begada use பண்றோமா? It is exactly the way it is in Bihagada also. I will sing certain phrases. I will sing the bandish in Bihagada. Then you will see. Please note, even though the soundscape will be different, the notes are the same. Ye madir vame, madir vame, aaye nahi प्रीतम प्यार रे सखी मोरी मंदिरवा में आए नहीं प्रीतम प्यार रे सखी मोरी मंदिरवा में. So 2 nishadam irukku. Dava mavarisa. If I sang that if I sang this bandish in a Carnatic way, Madirva me ab mandirva me mandirva me. It is Begada. So when here the assimilation of Begada, even though it has two nishadas, was very readily accepted, because the Gamakas you are using are that of the Carnatic repertory. Daba ma vari in the Althama, the Dirga Kampita Sulva. Ma pa Mavi Lenga. Paga Paga Pa Tank. Daba ma vari sa Padani ni daba Rizani ni daba Dazada. What happens in Ma is also happening on Ni. Rizani ni daba daba. So we will do one small fun thing. I will sing the phrase in Bihagada with the help of the Carnatic Gamakas, which are well established in our consciousness. You will hear it as Begada. Madi. So how will you sing that in Carnatic? Da pa ma pa Madhuradhwani Vame Gamakas Aaye nahi Pritama Pyar Aga Gamava Ni. And the plain Ni nama paad mato, but Sari Sani Da Pa, right? Amadhirvame Sagama Pada Pasani Rizani Zadava Gama Pada Dapa Chabade Khanko Gama Pasani Sa Chabade Khanko Tumari Sari Dapa, right? Tumari आस लागी मको नी सदा पद द प प मगा. So नी सा प पद प म प मगा, right? गुनीदास के चरण गुनीदास गुनी, I forget the words. गुनीदास को शरण दीजे Amadhirvame. So what is maintained from the Bihagada? The Madhyanga, that is Dava Mavari Sagari Gama Padaba. The Madhyanga is the indicator of Begada. Gama Pada Imta Tyagara Jaya Namaste. The Madhyangada Tanavarita Illampa, the Nedulash. So that is also the feature of Bihagada, right? So the aesthetics is taken, but the Gamakas are different. Gamakas are changed, and that makes its acceptance very immediate in Carnatic, right? Ram Kalin Raga. Here again, but just by omitting Ramkali in the north, Ram Naam Japale Man और कोई नहीं आवे काम तेरो दुख भवताप निवारण मन राम नाम Japale man. This is Ramkali. You can hear a recording of Bhimsen Joshi singing this, very beautiful. Ram Naam Japale man और कछु नहीं आवे काम तेरो दुख भवताप निवारण मन राम नाम जपले. So Dikshit adapts it by Nida Pa Ma Pa and the Pradhimadhima Vittidvar. But he will hold on to Sariga Pa Da Sa Da Pa Ma Pa Rama Rama Kali Kalusha Virama Dhara Laloma. Like I said, I for fun will sing it at Dhara Bril Laloma Rama Rama. Because அந்த இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் கேட்டு தான் அவருக்கு வந்திருக்கு. Again, here again, Damapa, Damapa, Danidapa. அந்த கைசிக்கு நிஷாதமும் இருக்கும். But all that he leaves, he just takes the essence of the feel of the raga. Sarega pada sanida pamapa pagamarisa. அது எடுத்துப்பார். So the acceptance is easier. You understand? See, there are so many ragas like this. Sahana also comes from Shahana Kannada. We think that it is a very classical, age-old raga. But Sahana is also from Shahana Kannada. Athana is from Adana Kannada. Athana is another very beautiful adaptation. In Adana, the Nishada has a Shruti value between the Kaishiki and the Kakali. That is not acceptable for Carnatic mind because it wants to fix it somewhere. Correct? Either you say Kaishiki Nishada or you say Kakali Nishada. So the adaptation is that we will have both. Mata Kali Ka Mata Kali Ka. If you notice that ni pa ni 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 sada ni sa pa ni ma pa ni sa di sa ni sa ni sa. So நம்ம வந்து சனி பதனி பா ரெண்டு நிஷாதம் போட்டுட்டோம். அந்த ரீ அதுக்கு சனி பதனி பா. The adaptation is by making it very clear, not having that shroud of confusion. Because tough பாடுறதுக்கு very difficult to notate also. எப்படி notate பண்ணலாம்? Because சின்ன நீம் இல்லை, பெரிய நீம் இல்லை, சின்ன தாவம் இல்லை, பெரிய தாவம் இல்லை. Sa da da ni pa ni ma pa sa da ni pa parisa. But மத்ததெல்லாம் சேமா இருக்கு. Parisa நம்மளோடதுலயும் parisa ni pa da ni pa ma parisa. Parisa prayoga உத்தராங்க பிரதான எல்லாம் சேம். பட் அங்க இருக்கிற அந்த ஒரு haziness of that nishada and daivata, you solve it by making it very clear. Janaka janaka payal baje, janaka janaka payal baje, payaliya ki thumaka thumaka par, payaliya ki thumaka thumaka par, cham cham manava nache, janaka janaka payal baje. नीले गगन भी सुना का राजू में, नीले गगन भी सुना का राजू में, मधुरा मधुरा जनाकार सोई धरती जाग उठी है, गूंज उठा संसार, राग रंग भी साज, जनक जनक पायल बाजे. So the journey of assimilation of ragas is very interesting. Assimilation with Gamakas, assimilation by dropping the Vivaditvam, assimilation by the compositional structure. Because Sahitya is there, we are able to give a particular mette to the raga. See, there are two ways. From the raga you can go to the mette, or from the mette you can go to the raga. That's why many of these ragas are today included under the category of Deshiya ragas. Deshiya ragas are typically mette based ragas. If you take a Chenjurati or even Maniranga, இந்த மாதிரி ராகாஸ் எல்லாம் அந்த phrase based on raga. And the phrase Punagavarali, these are all based on just the phrases. Sahana Kannada is very interesting. Shahana Kannada has actually become our Kannada. Gunje lauri maliniya गुंजलावरी मालनिया फूलों का सीधा. Forget the composition. Parizadani paga madi sama paga manipa nisa nisa di sari nisa dani pa. So namlodla it has become Kannada. But gamari gamapa madani sada anadana அந்த பிரயோகா பனி sada நம்மளோட சஹானால இருக்கு. பகா மாரி அதுதான் கொஞ்சம் மாறித்து. Gamari, right? But the Gama pa mada ana Gama pa mada ni pa Pamaga mari Gama pa mada. The Pamada Prayoga Adalam exactly mirroring Shahana. When I searched, our Raga names are never without meaning. Okay? எல்லா நேமுக்கும் ஒரு மீனிங் இருக்கும். வசந்த வராளினா அதுக்கு வசந்தாக்கு ஒரு மீனிங், வராளிக்கு ஒரு மீனிங் இருக்கும். பட் சஹானாக்கு ஒரு அர்த்தம் இல்லை. இன் லிங்குவிஸ்டிக்ஸ் there is no meaning for the word sahana. But Shahana, Shaha is the emperor, Shehen Shaha, right? Shaha actually means Allah, our terminology. And since the king is the representative of Allah on earth, he is called Shah. Shah's surname ketripele. Bahadur Shah Zafar, Adil Shah, Sher Shah, illa Shah. So, no, that's different. There is a different beautiful geography there of how the influence of the Mughals in Gujarat, because they came via the route. So, lot of the Shahs of Gujarat are of mixed breed. Anyway, that's a different story. Nothing against Amit Shah. Okay. But the Shaha means the king. Shahana means all the Kannada ragas in the north evolved around the time of Tansen. So Nayaki Kannada, Darbari Kannada, Shahana Kannada, Adana Kannada, Raisa Kannada, நிறைய இருக்கு Kannada varieties. So இந்த Kannada varieties வந்து அது கோர்ட்ல பாடுறதுனால unto the Shah. It's like, you know how in courts they'll name the raga after the king. So Shahana Kannada was one such naming. So அந்த Shahanaல தான் லேந்தா நமக்கு Sahana வந்திருக்கு. இதுக்கு I've done some research, so you can take me on it. Yeah. So it is very interesting. Kapi. Kapi is also Kafi Kannada. Kafi Kannada. Kafi is a thought. It's very interesting. Kafi. Again, Kapi in our tradition in Carnatic is sung in two very clear ways. One is the Parulana Mata way of without the Antragandaram and without the Kakali Nishada, right? Terima. Parulana Mata Namavadu Prananayaka Parulana Mata Namavadu Prananayaka Parulana Mata Namavadu. This is pure subset of Namakarahara Priya, right? But the chalan of Tafi, Sari ma pani sa, Sani pa magari sa, there is no Daivata also. Adhikaparam sa Nidani pa magari sa vandide. We see in some Javalis later that we have that. And of course the Mishra Kafi. I will sing Kafi for you in the Hindustani tradition. Nahi paje morenan savariya nahi paje morenan padasani dama panida dhamma pagari gari rinisa nahi paje morena. So rima pada ni dapa, and the chalan has come to our copy. Rima ni paga sa riba magari sa nisa, rima pa ni sa rigari sa ni da ni ba sa ne ba magari sa nisa. So the sa ni pa magari sa is from pade morenan. Sapagari. Right? But Mishra Kafi on the Thumris Narya interpretation, which brought on all the other notes. So if I were to sing this same Thumri in a Mishra Kafi style, Nahi Pade Morenan, Nahi Pade Morenan, Savariya, 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 Nahi Pade, Nahi Pade Morena. So the Kakala Nishada, which is a very beautiful indicator of our copy today, right? Kapil enna padlam. So yeah, Tyagaraja has adopted that Kakala Nishada full. The first note itself is the Kakala Nishada. Saukya manine japaja la inta Saukya manine japaja la yento yemo yava. Again, Antragan. Yavari kitelu suyinta. So you see that Tyagaraja is accepting all the Anyaswaras. And of course later on, if you look at some compositions, the Shuddha Daivata also comes. Idam and the Sangati Kavian Padvar. Inta Saukya Manine Padava. And the touch, which is of Mishra Kafi. Huh? அப்படியா அதான் அவர்கிட்ட தான் வந்திருக்கும். நான் அவர் இந்த கிருதி பாடி கேட்டதில்லை. ஆமாம். ஸோ அந்த those three Anyaswaras, Antaragandharam, Kakala Nishada and the Shuddha Daivata. That is, ஆமாம், Shuddha Daivata. So in the 20th century, the readiness to accept Anyaswaras as beautiful is a very important predicate for the fact that so many Hindustani ragas came into the repertory of Carnatic music. Even ragas like Revati. Revati, the function is even though it is Bairagi, it's an adaptation of Bairagi, right? All of you know that. Re ma pa mari sa ni sa ri. And the Mayamala Rishabhathoda Gamakatnala adoda acceptance. Na nati Bratuku Natakamu. So the essence was made to be Rishabha and the Gamaka. Kanaka Kannadi Kaivalyamu Nadi. And the Rishabhathoda Gamakatnala, the Karnatica sound are Rema Pani Pani Sare Rani Ni Sare Masa Reni Pani Pama Pama Reni Ni Sare Reni Ma Reni Ma Pani Sari Sa. Oh Savariya. We'll end with this, I think. We're getting late. We'll sing this. I'll teach you this composition in Bairagi. So even though it is of simple scale, the Gamaka allows it to sound Carnatic. Ho Savariya ghar nahi aayo. Ho Savariya ghar nahi aayo. Ratiya bitai. Ratiya bitai. Tarapata sari. Tarapata sari. So inge vande Hindustani and the ga varum. Chinna ga. Tarapata sari. Tarapata sari. Ratiya bitai. Ratiya bitai. Tarapata sari. Tarapata sari. Unabina rovata rovata. Unabina rovata rovata. O Savariya घर नहीं आयो. So you can replane. उन बिन रोवत रोवत. उन बिन रोवत रोवत. रोवत रोवत अழுது அழுதுன்னு அர்த்தம். उन बिन रोवत रोवत हो सावरिया. उन सोही डारिती मोरियान. उन्नी सोही डारिती मोरियान. उन ही सो डारिती मोरियान. उन सोही डारिती मोरियान. मोरियान मदरवा बेग पधारो. मदरवा बेग पधारो. बिन गुनी जान. बिन गुनी जान कछु का नाही भावे. कछु का नाही भावे हो सावरिया. घर नहीं आयो हो सावरिया. घर सावरिया हो सावरिया. So the virtuosity सावरिया हो सावरिया. So even though it is a out of a raga, you can do Manodharma in it even in Carnatic. Revatila, Mandala. I've heard great artists like TNS sir sing Rahamtana Pallavi. Mandala padirka. It is up to your imagination where you want. Mand again is a very beautiful adaptation, right? Voleti listens to याद पिया की आए. ये दुख सह न जाए. हाय राम याद पिया की आए. So he composes सर्वम ब्रह्ममयम रे रे. सर्वम ब्रह्ममयम रे. सर्वम ब्रह्ममयम. Right? So exactly inspired with that. In ragas like Pahadi, so it is Voleti sir who encouraged Lalgudi sir to compose in Mand and Pahadi. You know that? That is the story. இதை படைகுலாம் இந்த கேட்டு அவருக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சி போய் சார் நீங்கள் ஒன்று தில்லா நான் கம்போஸ் பண்ணுங்கன்னு சொன்னதுதான். தட் இஸ் பஹாடி. Again a North Indian raga. So sometimes like I say, the agents and movers of this acceptance are great musicians of our in our tradition. Whether it be a world. So we have to acknowledge their contribution in a big way. You know, நம்ம இந்த ராகமெல்லாம் இன்னைக்கு பாடுறோம்னா மாண்டில் டிஎன்எஸ்ஆர் ஒரு பல்லவி பாடுறான்னா that is due to the legacy. It's not his brilliance alone, but it is the nourishing that these great artists have done. நிறைய இருக்கு, அது நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் வச்சுக்கலாம். அவர் வாச்சஸ்பதி, ஆபோகி, அமிர்தவர்ஷினி, ஹம்சத்வனி எல்லாம் அந்த சாரு கேசி, so many ragas, many ragas. No, that is a slightly controversial subject, because I've always found that the South Indian mind is a little more open. Yeah. Contrary to what many people think. Not just that. Nariya, from the times of, I am talking about not, its credit is not ours. It's our ethos. A Tyagaraja is able to borrow from a copy. Right? Hundreds of... See, scales adopt பண்றது easy. Scales சித்தாரில் டியூனா வாசிக்கிறது ரொம்ப ஈஸி. அது பெரிய இனோவேஷன் நான் கன்சிடர் பண்ண மாட்டேன். ஐ ஹவ் லாட் ஆஃப் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் ஃபார் ஸ்ரீ ரவிசங்கர், பட் தட் இஸ் நாட் கிரேட் இனோவேஷன் டு அடாப்ட் அ ஸ்கேல். அது ராகமாக மாறி பண்ணுறது அதுதான் அழகு, அதில் தான் வேலை இருக்கு. ஃபார் மீ டு டூ, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இஸ் பரமேஸ்வரி, ஆல் தோஸ் ஆர் ஆல் ஸ்கேலர். பட் த வே படைகுலாம் அடாப்டட் வாச்சஸ்பதி, த வே அப்துல் கரீம் கான் அடாப்டட் ஹம்சத்வனி, அண்ட் ஸோ அதில் தான் விஷயம் இருக்கு. நம்மளோட தர்பாரி எப்படி நம்ம அடாப்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம்? So many examples. Ramnath Krishnan sir is inspired by a rendition of Hamir Khan in Darbari, and he composes Govardhana Giridhara Govinda Gokula Palaka Paramananda Govardhana Giridhara. So the Carnatic aesthetic is uncomfortable with the very long and pronounced dha and ga of Darbari. Sa sa da ni sa di ga. So adu vandu he transformed it. Ni za pa Kamaj sa di di. We are all comfortable with this Kannada phrase.
He taught me this, Sriram.
Very good. Yeah. So Govinda, அப்படி விட்டுட்டார். Govinda, that would have been Darbari. But look at the intelligence. Govinda, ga ga Gokula Palaka Paramananda Mabanida. அங்க மத்தியமாவத்தியோட அம்சம் கொண்டு வந்துட்டார். Mabanida Mabadanisa, அது ஓவர் ரைடு பண்ணி Mabanisa da, and the Mabanisa amsha of the raga he took. Gova, that nidari nisa dani pa. So part of the phrase எடுத்துக்கிறது. Govar, அதுக்கு நீ பா வந்துடுறது. Because Govar, it will seem a little foreign. நம்மளால ரசிக்க முடியும், பட் எல்லாராலையும் ரசிக்க முடியுமா? Govardhana, there is safer territory. Govardhana Giri and Brika. எங்க Brika போட்டாலும் கர்நாடிக் ஆயிடும் அது. So another strategy. So Govardhana Dana Giridha go Risatani போட்டா அது கர்நாடிக் ஆயிடும். Because the idea of that this briga is not there in Hindustani aesthetics. And Namlodatla, this briga is a very powerful device. Right? Thanks to GNB and that legacy, we have that. Briga. Brindama, SKR, Ivalodla, briga kekarathke, avalo sukumarko. Right? So in the briga, nama ragatod assimilation la include panita, it is again another way of making sure that the Rasikas don't feel alienated. It is very important for the Rasika to not feel that this is something different from what I am hearing. Any assimilation process has to have that feature. It cannot be totally new. It has to have elements which the Rasika is familiar with. You know, that is what I feel. Any adaptation has to have that element. Sindhu Barivim paadalam nariya paadinde irkalam, but I think we will call it a day. Thank you so much. This is Raga Sudha, this is Samanvi, this is Archana, this is Ramcharan, this is Arvind Balaji. Thank you all. Om. Thank you so much. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you.